generational talent is different. Who are generationally talented quarterbacks to you?
I mean, present day or college kids?
If you go present
like in
day,
the NFL?
In the NFL, who's a
Lamar.
He ain't Lamar.
I'm not saying he's Lamar,
but it's the other thing though. The people you're comparing him to, right? Like, let's just talk about the people you're comparing him to. You know what Lamar Jackson had by this point in college? A Heisman.
But Lamar played a lot more. He had stopped.
Because he was that good.
RC, Lamar's first start, he went 9 of 20 with a pick.
This is his third start. Stop saying it's
against
his
the real opponent.
It's his third.
Against the real opponent.
And also, too,
okay, so we can
go to year in college.
But he hasn't played bowling.
Because you know why? Because if you're Trevor Lawrence and you're a transcendent, generational quarterback talent, Kelly Bryant can be the incumbent starter.
Generational talent is different. Let's have a real conversation about what that actually means in today's NFL and college football landscape. When we talk about generational quarterbacks, we're not just discussing good players. We're talking about athletes who redefine the position, who change how the game is played, who force entire organizations to rethink their approach to team building.
Things got real heated in the ESPN studios as Ryan Clark completely destroyed Dan Orlovsky over his Arch Manning generational take. Now, we've seen Dan Orlovsky's bad take on Shedeur Sanders, and Ryan Clark has had enough. But we're gonna, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, it seems like Ryan Clark has had enough of Dan Orlovsky's bad takes when it comes to these quarterbacks. Now, we all seen and we've all heard Dan Orlovsky's take on Shedeur Sanders. We also seen him compare Dylan Gabriel to Shedeur Sanders.
So who truly qualifies as generational today? Let's break this down without the hype and without the emotional attachment to certain names. If we're looking at the current NFL landscape, we need to have honest conversations about players like Lamar Jackson. But here's where the debate gets interesting. The comparisons matter. The context matters. The timeline matters. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson's college career for a moment. People forget that Lamar's first start wasn't some legendary performance. He went 9 for 20 with an interception.
100%.
Can you define to me what that means?
Well, generational talent would be that you have physical attributes that are rare and unique. When did 6'4", 225 pounds, 4'5", 4'6" in the 40?
None of those things.
100%. He's 100% 6'4", 220 plus pounds, and is like 4'5", 4'6", and 40. Got clocked at 21 miles an hour on GPS. When did that not become at the quarterback spot generational physical ability, let alone elite, rare bloodlines?
This is his third start we're discussing, against real competition in his third year of college. The development curve matters. The progression matters. The reality of quarterback development is that it's rarely linear. Now let's shift to the absolute chaos that unfolded on ESPN between Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky. This wasn't just sports debate. This was a fundamental clash of philosophies about how we evaluate quarterback talent. Dan Orlovsky had the audacity to throw shade at Shedeur Sanders before the Lions even hit the field. And Ryan Clark delivered what can only be described as a nuclear response.
Chance Dan Orlovsky gets, he keeps on bigging up Arch Manning to make Arch Manning one of the greatest quarterbacks he's seen in college history. Now, there's a long list of quarterbacks that we can talk about in college that was great. But the thing about it is Dan Orlovsky's takes on these quarterbacks, because Dan Orlovsky was a quarterback himself. And like I stated to you guys, man, Dan Orlovsky likes mediocrity. He likes mediocre players because he was a mediocre quarterback himself. And Dan Orlovsky takes on these quarterbacks is downright asinine. And Ryan Clark wastes no time in destroying everything that he has to say about these quarterbacks.
This moment transcended typical sports commentary. It was part roast, part clapback, and complete football analysis all rolled into one explosive segment. If you thought pre-game analysis was boring, this moment proved otherwise. Things got heated in the ESPN studios as Ryan Clark completely dismantled Dan Orlovsky's take on Arch Manning being a generational talent. We've seen Orlovsky's questionable takes on Shedeur Sanders before, but this time, Ryan Clark had reached his breaking point.
National talent? Then who is? And how are we measuring it? Because we can't sit there and go, because of the way the first start on the road.
There's very few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then what? Then how does one, in your eyes, be a generational talent? Because there's not a lot of difference.
The studio might never recover from what happened next. Ryan Clark didn't just step onto the battlefield, he brought strategic nuclear weapons to a knife fight. The target? Dan Orlovsky, whose entire career of questionable quarterback analysis just got publicly vaporized in real time. The conversation started with Orlovsky trying to define what makes Arch Manning generational.
Stop with the Shedeur Sanders is being set up to fail narrative. Who do you want to start the game? It's preseason week 1. First option, Joe Flacco. He's played for like 20 years. He's not going to start preseason week 1. The next 2 options would be a Kenny Pickett or a Dylan Gabriel. Both are dealing with hamstring injuries. Neither has practiced a ton recently. If they've done anything, I believe it's been 7-on-7. Who do you want to start the game? The next 2 options are Shedeur and Snoop Huntley. Shedeur's been there.
He pointed to physical attributes. 6'4" rest, 225 pounds, 4.5 to 4. 640 time, clocked at 21 miles per hour on GPS. But Ryan Clark immediately challenged this superficial analysis. When did these physical measurements alone become the definition of generational talent at quarterback?
Or moves slowly, kind of trying to see what's going on, and then that creates that sack fumble. So a lot of the stuff that we just saw in college is a big deal. This ball gets snapped at the 48-yard line. Defense has won the rep. Play is dead. Throw the ball away.
Yep.
It's first down. But instead we run and it's a 2.5, 3-yard loss. So instead of being 2nd and 10, we're 2nd and 13. We're dead. Again, here's the opportunity to throw the juke route. Hold, scramble. So some of those things that I was and others were concerned about on the college tape showed itself again. This is not the end of the world, though. This is part of his development in becoming a potential starting quarterback.
The position requires so much more than just physical tools. It requires mental processing, leadership, clutch performance, and the ability to elevate everyone around you. The discussion then turned to what truly constitutes generational talent. Orlovsky suggested there are very few true generational talents.
My analysis on Shedeur Sanders for the people that messaged me Uncle Tom or commented, fool, I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and that's kiss my I'm not going to holler sabotage and racism when I don't truly believe something is sabotage and racism. I did have a problem with the way Shedeur Sanders was covered in the pre-draft process. The anonymous reports demeaning a young man's character who had never done anything wrong away from the field, had never shown anything but leadership.
He mentioned John Elway, Patrick Mahomes, Andrew Luck. Notably, he excluded Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Peyton Manning from this category. This is where the debate gets fascinating. How do we define generational? Is it about physical tools, career accomplishments, impact on the game?
So while Shedeur may not have had reps with the ones, what else do you want them to do in Cleveland? It's an opportunity for him. It may not be the ideal opportunity. Very rarely is it for a 5th-round pick, but it's an opportunity for him to go out there and do in a game what many have reported he's done in practice. Stop with the setup to fail narrative.
Knows it. This is beautiful chaos, and the implications extend far beyond just one player or one analyst. This confrontation represents everything wrong with the current sports media ecosystem when it comes to quarterback evaluation. Players like Shedeur Sanders face uphill battles every single day because manufactured narratives are easier than doing the actual hard work of proper evaluation and analysis. The system is fundamentally broken when anonymous reports can demean a young man's character who has never done anything wrong off the field.
That means multiple teams, 32 teams, passed on him multiple times. And now you want me to say the one team that did decide to draft him doesn't have his best interests at heart. The thing is, he was a 5th round draft pick. 5th round draft picks get 5th round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. So you're gonna play with some guys who don't make the team. You know who else you're gonna play against? Some guys that don't make the team.
Who has never shown anything but leadership and professionalism. Yet certain analysts cling to their biases and predetermined narratives, rather than giving credit where it's objectively due. Ryan Clark just peeled back the curtain on this entire corrupt system, exposing the bias, the absurdity, and the blatant double standards that plague modern football analysis. And the most brilliant part of his approach? He did it without even needing to put Shedeur's name front and center in every argument. By systematically exposing Orlovsky's flawed methodology and inconsistent evaluation criteria, he indirectly highlighted exactly why players like Shedeur get consistently undervalued, while less proven prospects get elevated to mythical status. Now, let's talk about the immediate fallout from this epic confrontation. Orlovsky tries desperately to salvage whatever remains of his credibility by pointing to physical measurables, GPS speed data, and whatever other analytics he can grasp onto. Clark doesn't flinch for a single second. He understands what truly matters at the quarterback position. You cannot measure heart with a stopwatch. You cannot quantify poise with GPS data, and you certainly cannot capture the ability to transform an entire program with a spreadsheet of analytics. That now legendary "little vest" comment wasn't just hilarious television, it was devastatingly effective criticism. It perfectly encapsulated the sheer absurdity of letting analytics and hype overshadow actual on-field performance and proven production. Generational talent doesn't negotiate with mediocrity. It doesn't make excuses. It doesn't rely on hype or favorable media narratives, and Shedeur Sanders is living proof of that fundamental truth. He walks into struggling programs, turns them around almost immediately, makes clutch plays when it matters most, earns respect from teammates significantly older than him, and still gets consistently undervalued by large segments of the media. The comedy in this situation is absolutely golden when you step back and look at the bigger picture. Then comes what might be the most devastating part of Clark's entire argument. He points out the sheer absurdity of labeling someone generational after only 3 career starts. Generational talent, by any reasonable definition, dominates immediately, forces organizational change, and leaves an impact that simply cannot be ignored. Just look at Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. They all did exactly that from their very first opportunities. They didn't need years of development before showing flashes of greatness. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders may not have had all the first-team reps in preseason, but what else do you realistically want him to do in Cleveland's situation? It's an opportunity for him. It may not be the ideal opportunity, but very rarely do 5th-round picks get ideal situations. What many have reported he's done in practice should translate to game opportunities. The set-up-to-fail narrative needs to stop when we're discussing talented players who just need a legitimate chance to prove themselves. The perfect irony of this entire situation is watching Orlovsky sitting there measuring speed and missing the entire forest for a few trees. The comedy is perfect. The frustration for anyone who actually understands football and proper player evaluation is absolutely immeasurable. By the time this epic confrontation reached its conclusion, any objective observer realized this wasn't just about Arch Manning versus Shedeur Sanders, or even about Dan Orlovsky's credibility specifically. This was about calling out an entire flawed evaluation system that privileges certain types of players while systematically undervaluing others based on arbitrary criteria and personal biases. Analysts like Orlovsky are supposed to provide genuine insight, proper context, and accurate evaluation based on observable evidence. Instead, what we often get is perpetuation of predetermined narratives, endless hype for unproven prospects, and consistent undermining of players who have actually proven themselves through sustained production. Ryan Clark dismantled that entire corrupt framework in one sitting, showing everyone what happens when someone with actual credibility, real experience, and truth on their side decides to hold up the mirror to this broken system.
And this is just my opinion, it's time for Deion to let go a little bit, right? It's time for, if you're saying this about Shedeur, you get to say that now because I'm not his coach anymore. If Shedeur is dealing with this certain level of adversity, yeah, I'm on the phone with him. Yeah, I'm in his room and we're having conversations.
But when he goes to work, he has to go to work as a man, right? Shedeur Sanders is going to be leading dudes that were like you in the league, that were like you, that were like me. At the time, you had kids and were married. I had kids and was married. Chan, you was a grown man that said, I can go in the streets every night and I can come in here and work.